Hi, everybody. Welcome to Consistently Creative Crew. This is Colleen with Kari and Cheryl. And tonight we are doing the Fur Baby project recipe. The instructions are on Consistently Creative Croppers and the Zoom link. Well, you're on the Zoom link, so you know where it is. And this is fun. It's the sample is for a dog, but the Fur Baby came for a dog and for a cat. And let me tell you what the papers are. Papers are a background papers, two background papers, or you obviously you can do right on top of your album. And then there is a statement designer piece that you cut and place, you split it across the two pages. So if you want to, you can weld and save yourself some paper. So I will probably be welding tonight, so you can see that. And then there is another designer piece of paper, which becomes the borders on either side, and you use both sides of it. And then the last paper is cardstock that you're going to punch your shape out of. I also have, scrap paper to use for welding if you want to save some of your paper. I'm going to show you in the sample. I did this with Tropic Time. And here's my, the coral is my base paper. And I did weld it with my designer paper. So I cut my base paper 1/2 inch longer, then put a piece of white paper on top and welded it together. So it saves you some of the paper. Then on this layout, because I knew I needed to do peekaboo pockets, I actually did 4x6 for my photos from my mat. And so that's larger than what the project recipe calls for. So I use cardstock for all of my mats. And then I used one of the photo mats that I didn't use for an embellishment cluster. And you can see that the two sides here, this is the same piece of paper, a different side showing up. And then you flip the smaller piece of paper. So they're opposite. It just adds a little bit more interest. Obviously, you could do it the same if you chose. And then the shape that goes on the square, the shape punch. I thought I needed to come up with this list. The majority of our shape punches that I own, I think I own 50, fit in the squares. About the only that don't, the reindeer didn't appear to that it would fit. And I had another one, but I forget what it is now. Oh, the anchor may not fit. But other than that, they all fit. The shape is, I lost. The size of the square is 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. That's what these are right here. And that's the size of our shape punch. So if you're wondering if something you picked out is going to fit, you can just match it up to your shape punch to see if it's actually going to fit in the square. But the majority of all of our Creative Memory shape punches fit that size. So I showed you what I'm using tonight. Kari can show the other options. So let's go to Kari's share screen, Kari.
Yep. Okay. Did it pop up?
It sure did.
Okay. So this is the layout that Colleen was talking about, and these are the papers. This is how it would look if you're following the instructions provided by Creative Memories. And they also provide a couple of additional paper pairings that they suggest would go well with this. So if you've already used those papers or want to do something different, here are the papers that they have. So there's a number of different ones. A couple of them, it looks like they've turned over some papers, but this can give you a few ideas. And I think there's just a couple of other. So this was their completed kit. And then their tools that they recommended was our trimmer, tape runner, repo tape, the Paw Punch, or as Colleen said, you could have any other punch because most of them will fit. The Fur Baby stickers, foam squares, and black dual tip pen are optional add-ons.
Great.
So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing.
Thanks, Kari. Perfect. Okay, so does anyone have any questions about paper or tools that they're using tonight? And remember, if you want to save a little paper, you can cut your base papers, which is what I'm going to do. That's how I'm going to start. So designer paper number 1 on the layout, it is, it says it's the one in the center. It's cut across 2 papers. That's the first cut. So you need your trimmer, extend the arm out, and you're actually going to cut, oh, that's not on the page. You're going to cut it at 5 inches. It's nice because there's a line all the way down. And then that leaves you with, this is 5 inches and this side is 7 inches. And you want to pay attention to where you cut it, because you want this to be mounted on your paper that way so that it flows across, the design flows across both pages. So I'm just going to stack them up. So not on the instructions. Oh, I'll just go through with the instructions and then we can come back. There we go. I'll just follow the instructions. What the heck? So now you're on to paper number 2, which is designer paper number, your second paper. And first thing you do is cut at 2.5 twice.
2 1/4?
Excuse me, thank you. 2 1/4. That's why we have moderators. 2 1/4. And you cut 2 strips at 2 1/4. Again, if you have direction, these strips are going up and down. 2 1/4, 2 1/4. I love it when the measurement lines up with the grid and it goes all the way down. So I'm like, ooh, I know I can get it really straight. Okay, so we did that. And now we're going to cut it at 4 inches by 4 inches. Excuse me, you're going to cut it at 4 inches. And then you're going to rotate it and cut it at 4 twice. Rotate. So you're going to end up with 3 4x4s.
Colleen, those are mats, right?
These are
gonna be
mats.
photo mats.
So if you want to do bigger photos, don't cut this like I did on my sample. And what is left is your, they want 12 1 3/4 by 1 3/4, which is the size of the square punch, but it just seems much easier to cut this at 1 3/4 and then slice it up than try and match the square punch up 12 times. So I'll be going 1 3/4 to the right. And that should give you 1 3/4 on both. Yep. And then turn and do 1 3/4. Wait a minute, this one of these is a little bit. One is a little bit big.
So you cut these strips into 1 3/4 inch squares?
Correct. You need a total of 12. If you cut it all the way up, you end up with 14.
Okay.
So I'm just going to stack them on top of each other and do 1 3/4. Make a little paper cutting machine here. slide and cut. I was really pleased that when I figured out that the punches all fit that shape, that was like, well, that's going to be easy. So whatever punch anybody has. Unfortunately, the paw print punch sold out, and then they took orders through the end of June, I believe, June 30th. You could pre-order it, and they're only going to be offering to people that already paid for it. And I think they're due in August, but no, that's too soon. They must be later. Okay. There we go. 12 squares. Set those aside. And we're cruising. Does anybody need to take a pause to get caught up?
Almost done with my squares.
Okay. So then your cardstock, whatever color you chose. Since my dog has a bright blue leash, I decided to go with bright blue. And we're going to cut at 4.
Are these mats?
Yes, these are mats.
Okay.
And rotate and cut at 6. And then cut one more 4 by 6. Then the remainder of the cardstock you're going to use to do your punching. Okay, so then you have 3 4 by 6 mats. To keep our cutter going, do you guys need me to show you the welding, or we can just go without it?
I think it's good to put on the video.
Okay. I just didn't make notes for it, so now I'm like, I'm gonna misspeak. So what the layout calls for is your 2 base papers. The project recipe calls for is your 2 base papers, like so. And then you're gonna lay on the very first piece of paper we cut. So you can see you've just stacked on top of perfectly good paper. So if you want to save paper, we can cut the backs of these off. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm going to weld my paper on. So the left-hand side, this paper, that cut is 5. So 5 inches is going to be covered. So I'm going to cut off 4.5 inches because I like an overlap. So now this becomes my left-hand side paper. And on the right-hand side, the paper is larger. It's at 7. So I'm going to cut it at 7.5. Cutting my base paper at 7.5. I did that wrong. Sorry. I should have cut my base paper at 5.5 because this piece of paper already is 7. My apologies. That's why I was like, oops, I didn't.
What's the piece that's left over? Is it too small? The one you just cut?
No, this piece is too big.
I realize that's too big, but piece that you cut off?
This
Oh,
one?
was that from the other side?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
So
So please repeat what you should be cutting this second base paper at.
sure. The second base paper should be at 5.5.
Okay. So you should have one 5.5 piece, and then you would have one 6.5 piece.
7.5 piece.
Got it.
And
All
then
right, Colleen, pardon me, I'm typing, so I want to make sure I get the measurements correct for the recording because that'll show up, right?
Mhm.
So cut the base paper on the left side at,
The left side is 7.5.
okay, 7 and 1, okay. Okay,
And the right side, all it is 1/2 inch larger than what you cut the first time.
right. I just want to make sure I'm typing
didn't-
right.
I
I get typing and then I like
know,
forgot what it
looked
is.
at
and then-
wrong. It was
Okay,
a
so
mistake.
the left one is 7.5 and the right one we're cutting at
5.5.
5.5.
But okay. That's 13 though. The paper's only
Yeah, because she's still using 2 pieces of paper, but you
Okay.
now will have scrap to
Got
use
it.
for something else.
And then probably not necessary to do a welding strip if I gave a 1/2 inch overlap.
Oh, that's true.
Eh, I'll do it anyway. I'm all about the overkill. So I'm cutting a 1/4 inch strip to weld.
So I guess for clarity, if you just want to use one sheet of paper and you're butting them up against each other and you're using a welding strip, it may not end up being perfectly 12 by 12 when you're done, and you have to be careful to not have a gap. But if you only have one sheet of paper, cut it in 5 and 7 and use a welding strip, and know that on the edge, you might just be off a little bit.
Thank you. That's very good clarification.
Good.
See, I shouldn't have gone off book
Mhm.
without notes. So here I have laid out on the left-hand side on my 12 by 12, I've laid out. Ugh, I'm gonna get this wrong every time. The 7.5 piece of paper with the 5 inch piece of paper. I'm overlapping mine. I don't like doing a straight cut like Kari suggested. And that's just not my skill. I don't do that well. And then on the right-hand side, this is the 7.5 piece of paper and the 5 inch piece of paper. And I made sure to keep my papers, this paper I cut, so that it flows across. So you can see it says spoiled, it says companion, yeah. This is probably the most complicated thing of this whole layout.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm going to turn it over. They're layered on top of each other. I'm going to put them in the grid on my table. I'm going to put tape runner on the larger piece and then line it up. And then just for extra added security, I also have my welding strip. And lay that on top. And now that is my right hand piece of paper. I'm going to repeat that for the left hand side. Flip it over end to end. Line it up. Then I'll just slide it over, put my tape runner on. I'm using permanent tape runner for extra stability. And if you're not welding, you could be punching from your cardstock, you can be punching your shapes. Okay, flip it back over and it still goes together. And I saved quite a bit of paper. Mine happens to be 3 because I miscut, but I still saved. All right, and then you just need to punch your shapes from your cardstock. And you need 12 of them. So here's my chunk of cardstock left. I've gotten pretty good about judging how close I can put my punch, you know, the shapes next to each other to save as much paper as possible. I'm gonna keep using my scrap and just cut off and get a clean edge. You want to pause because all I'm doing is punching.
Yep.
Okay, so hopefully you punched your 12 shapes out of your cardstock. Well, that's what we did while we were paused. I have my papers on my mats. This piece is 5 inches and this piece is 7 inches. And now it's just time for layout. What the sample shows is using your strips, your 2 1/4 inch strips, and they show putting on a different side. One side has showing both sides of the paper. And then you would layer on top of it the opposite side with the squares. So there's 6 squares. I recommend you lay them out, play with them.
Should the strip go all the way to the edge or should there be space?
The strip should be all the way to the edge.
Okay.
If you wanted to show more layers or depth, you could make it come in some. I still wouldn't want it to get in the way of your photos. You know, we always like to have a lot of room for our photos. So I don't measure, I just eye it. I center from side to side and then just eye the layout. And
If
then
you have the 0 centering ruler, it is perfect for lining them up straight along the side.
good to know. I gave all of you 0 centering rulers, but I don't have one.
Oh,
So I'm just going to, let me do the rest, show you the rest of the layout. Your 4x4s can show both sides. One on the bottom here, and then your cardstock. Goes below it. And they show keeping across the bottom, that's all on the same level, the same line, all the way across the bottom. Line it up at the same line, and These happen to be about just shy of 1 inch. A little bit over, just do 1 inch and then it's easier. Yeah, they're at 1 inch. There you go. And then of course you line up the same up and down also. You want the same amount of space between your layouts. Just helps make them more cohesive. So here's the layout. We're gonna pause to put it all down, and the magic will come back with a layout. Okay, through the magic of video, here is my completed layout. I put on my paw prints that I cut out. I added 3 embellishment clusters of 3, here, here, and here. This so spoiled, I popped it up with pop dots. And you did it, it makes the eye go up and down. That's is recommended. I added little dotted dash lines to my paw print because it really wasn't showing up. And now I think it really does show up.
Oh, cute.
Aw.
Yeah, very good. That's good.
Just a little added extra there. And another thing that we used to do that someone just reminded me of again is put little clusters of 3 dots. So I put those, I'm sure they're impossibly hard to see.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Little dots around. You can put them around your embellishments. Just for fun. I actually journaled, which I rarely do, right on my base paper. I don't like looking at my handwriting, but I like to journal, tell the story. And I actually always put the date on the side. I don't know why, like someone's gonna historically fact check that I actually take the dog for a walk on that date, whatever, but that's what I do. So it's usually on the edge, but if there's something that's a dark color, but it's always the bottom left, I've always put the year and the date and the year. Yeah, that's part of the year. So let's see, we have some other pages that are completed. Deanna has hers finished.
Sure. I used Painted Garden. I don't remember the name of the punch, so forgive me, but it's one that I can use both the exterior and the interior of. So
Mandevilla flower. That's the same one I used in my sample.
Got it. Okay. Well,
Nice.
yep. This was some of the gardens outside. Sorry, the glare. Blarney Castle, and it was a beautiful day with lots of great light. Unfortunately, and this is kind of one thing I may need help with on the title, it was a poison garden. So I may put some kind of skull and crossbones in the title. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that could be fun. Could come up with something clever.
Nice.
Enjoying our time in the poison garden or something.
Look, don't touch.
So this is mine. I haven't stuck everything down yet because I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I did use this punch and I did this one over here as well. And I'm going to punch out the letters, and I'm thinking about maybe using like the burnt orange that's in here or possibly the green or something. I'll see what looks good. And the little hearts, I use the little heart punch over there. Well, and obviously I have to embellish and all the rest of it, but trying to squeeze all my photos on here, so I don't know where they're all going to go. So we'll sort that out later. Get
Nice.
the basics done. Thank you, Colleen.
Sure. I think we're good. Want to remind everybody that the spine special is still going on if you want to create your custom spines. And we were just talking while we were paused that I'm going to do a recording to show you how to do your custom spines because they've moved it on the Creative Memories website. And you can actually duplicate your spines. Here's a sample of what I do. I use the same title, our last name is Day, so we're Everyday Memories. Kid, aren't we cute? And then I do the year at the top. I add a text box, and then the volume. But anyway, I'll do a quick video to try and share how to do that. Anything
Right.
else?
Did we mention our special?
Right, we are having a summer special. We believe Creative Memories will be launching a promotion on Friday, and we are going to also have a promotion on top of theirs. So a percentage off particular categories. So you would need to watch our Facebook page for that announcement, and you need to contact your advisor, Cheryl, Kari, or Colleen, to place that order because it's not offered from Creative Memories, it's from us. So we'll be doing like group orders. I think that's it.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody,
you.
for listening.
Love your layout, Colleen.
Thanks.
Thank you, Colleen.
Post your
Thank
photos
you.
in the album.
Bye.
Here.